It's cruise day. Let's go to Cabo Rojo in the Dominican Republic and Coco Key.
Oh, yeah, weren't expecting that. Where shall we go on this 44 Unbound journey?
A few years ago, I took a cruise that left on Christmas Day. This time, I wanted to take a cruise where I would spend the entire Christmas Day at sea. To do that, I braved Miami traffic, which is brutal at pretty much any hour, driving down from Port St. Lucie where I spent the night before. The goal was simple: get to PortMiami, board early, and start the trip aboard Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. I did the math and booked off-site parking online for the duration of the trip. That meant pulling into a lot, trying to scan a QR code that really didn't want to cooperate, more on that in another episode, and then grabbing an Uber to the port. All in all, the off-site parking plus the Uber ride came out cheaper than parking directly at PortMiami, where official cruise parking typically runs around $25 per day. Sometimes the cheaper option just takes a little more patience. PortMiami was extremely busy when we arrived. At the time of this sailing, Royal Caribbean was in the midst of changes to its terminal operations, so they were temporarily using MSC's terminal. Even so, once you understood where you were going, the process was pretty straightforward. What stood out was the mood. This was a Christmas cruise and people leaned into it. Santa hats, matching holiday shirts, reindeer antlers. Crew members wished everyone Merry Christmas, and the ship was fully decorated. Far from avoiding the holiday, most people seemed happy to celebrate it here. This was also the cruise that almost never happened. Originally, the itinerary included Labadee, Royal Caribbean's private destination in Haiti. Due to ongoing political instability and security concerns, Royal Caribbean suspended calls there, and as of now, there's still no confirmed return date. Then, the itinerary shifted to Falmouth, Jamaica, but that port call was later canceled because of Hurricane Melissa and replaced with Cabo Rojo. Embarkation itself involved a long walk past several massive ships docked side by side. You really feel the scale when you're walking the full length of 3 or 4 vessels just to reach your own. Our cabin was room 9701, booked as a guaranteed interior, meaning we didn't find out the exact room until about 3 weeks before sailing. We did bid for an upgrade but didn't get one, likely because the ship was close to sold out. Interestingly, while this room is classified as an interior, it's located on the balcony side near the aft of the ship. Because of the way it's engineered, there are no windows, so it behaves like a balcony cabin without the balcony itself. It's a standard cruise room, compact, efficient, and perfectly fine for a 5-day sailing. Cruise ships are designed to keep you out of your room, and after long days on board or ashore, it really just becomes a place to sleep. Royal Caribbean makes a point of showing how seriously they take cleanliness. Hand washing stations sit at the entrances to dining areas, complete with soap, paper towels, and the familiar washy-washy reminders. Whether everyone follows the rules is another question, but the effort is unmistakable. The outdoor spaces on Freedom of the Seas are one of its strengths. This isn't a newer mega ship, but it blends old-school cruise design with more modern features. There are plenty of places to walk, sit, and take in the ocean. Real outdoor deck space that lets you feel the breeze and hear the water. It's a nice balance that newer ships sometimes trade away. I spent some time walking the ship's main deck and promenade areas. Freedom of the Seas has long indoor walkways that feel more like streets than hallways, lined with lounges, shops, and interior-facing balconies. It's easy to forget you're on a ship at all, which I think is part of the appeal. This view looks out over the Miami container port, which operates side by side with one of the busiest cruise ports in the world. What's impressive is how seamlessly those two functions coexist. PortMiami can handle multiple cruise ships at once. On peak days, 6 or more, while still operating as a major cargo hub. It's a reminder that this is a working port first, even as it sends thousands of vacationers out to sea every day. While waiting for our turn to leave, Wonder of the Seas passed by, and it immediately became the focal point of the scene. Delivered in 2022, Wonder of the Seas is one of the newest ships in Royal Caribbean's fleet, and at over 236,000 gross tons, it makes Freedom of the Seas at roughly 154,000 gross tons feel noticeably smaller. Watching it glide past while we sat still really emphasized its scale. What stood out just as much as the size was the mood. People on cruise ships seem to be some of the happiest people on Earth, gleefully waving to strangers on balconies, to other ships, and to people standing along the shoreline. There's a shared excitement in that moment, even between people who will never meet again. Leaving PortMiami is a bit of a performance in itself. Ships don't back out of the port, they have to turn at the end of the channel so they can leave bow first. Because we were docked facing inward, this maneuver took more than 30 minutes before we were finally lined up to head out. Later that evening, we attended a night show in Studio B, one of Freedom of the Sea's signature venues. About 20 minutes into the performance, a skater's blade fractured the protective glass surrounding the rink. Out of caution, the show was ended early, something neither we nor other audience members had ever seen before. After the glass broke, two unattended kids were playing with shards of it until crew members stepped in, calmly and professionally. The parents never appeared.
Oh yeah, weren't expecting that.
The next day was windy and rough. Rough seas aside, it still felt good to be underway. We were officially steaming toward Cabo Rojo in the Dominican Republic.
On board the Freedom of the Seas, headed toward Cabo Rojo in the Dominican Republic. It's very windy. Seas like 4 to 6 feet. Boats aren't rocking too much, but they've got all the outside places closed down. Just found a relatively quiet spot where you can kind of see the water behind us here. So far, Freedom of the Seas has been pretty nice. Lots of kids who understand, if you're an adult and you got money to spend, you might have some kids you need to take with you, but just watch what they're doing.
Later on, I passed by the skating rink again and was genuinely impressed by the repair. The glass looked flawless, as if it had never been damaged at all. Moments like that really highlight how cruise ships function as floating cities, and how prepared the crews have to be. As we walked the promenade once more, that's going to wrap up our first overnight aboard Freedom of the Seas. Thanks for coming along as we make our way toward Cabo Rojo. More reviews and adventures are coming from this Christmas cruise, so stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, stay grounded, stay grateful, and go everywhere.